Okay, so let's start. Let's talk.
Yeah,
Tell me some words about Roxbury juice. What you guys specializing on? I have already checked the website, but still, I'd like to like hear it from you. What's your role in the company?
you got it. Well, I kind of took an untraditional route to restaurants. I'm a lawyer here in the United States, and I practiced law for 5 years in the state of California. Enjoyed that and loved that, but I just had this entrepreneurial urge to strike out on my own, and believe it or not, in the restaurant business. And so this marks, close to 30 years in the restaurant business for us. We started out with a number of other brands, but in 2008, we decided to branch out on our own and start Roxbury Juice.
Mhm.
And Roxbury is kind of a fun brand. We do everything from, we try and appeal to the masses, of course. So we have everything from the ultimate healthy fruit and vegetable, the not so healthy, by adding a little bit of non-fat frozen yogurt or some sherbet but we have smoothies and acai bowls and fresh pressed juices and, everything in between.
Smoothies look very juicy, very juicy.
Well, they're definitely juicy. Obviously the attributes of a really good smoothie are that they're number one, they're healthy. They have great ingredients,
Yeah.
lots of fruit, lots of vegetables if you want vegetables. But they're important that they're cold. It's important that they're creamy. And of
Mhm.
course, it's important that they taste good. So we try and bring all of that to the table.
Okay, yeah. Bring some to Germany. So, you
There you
like have
go.
a franchise model, right?
We do. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, we definitely need some of that smoothies and that's healthy food here in Germany because what I can see for like recent 7 years, people more and more they lean to fast food. They don't have like they in the chase of their career or else they don't have time um, to cook, and we
Yep.
eat more and more like frost food that you can like throw into the pan and warm it up, and there you go. You can like you have all the sorts of pasta, bolognese, and all that stuff. Like in 5 minutes, you have it. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if it's
it's the same here. It kind of goes in cycles, and right now, that's we're a fast-paced economy here. Employers expect you to be at work hard from 9 to 5, so your day, goes pretty fast. And then when you're done, you don't have as much time to go to the grocery store to prepare your own food and to take care of those ingredients. So a lot of people have they've started eating a little bit less healthy. Unfortunately, that's created an obesity rate. It's created a lot of illnesses in our bodies, and so we're seeing a little bit of a shift in that right now, where some restaurants are definitely trying to cater to that time zone, that time constraint that their customers have, but still provide a great and healthy product that kind of bridges the gap between the time constraints that a customer has and eating good food. And Roxbury is definitely among that trend where you see a lot. It started during COVID, where everyone was very concerned uh, about their health. Right? They didn't want to get sick. They wanted to. We have a smoothie that we call the Flu Fighter, and it has a lot of really cool ingredients in it to try and give your body the antioxidants and the staying
Mhm.
power to stay healthy and strong. And so people gravitated to that during COVID for sure, but still to this day, because we have the element of fruit and vegetable that a lot of restaurants can't bring to the table.
Wow, that's great. What can you tell about like the market? Is the competition strong in like Utah and Idaho?
Yeah, we have a couple strong players in Utah, and Roxbury, actually we probably kind of own Utah. We have a lot of stores, and we've got a lot of loyal customers, and so we're very successful in this market. And as we branch out into new states, we're looking at moving into Arizona, the state of Arizona in the United States, and Nevada and Texas and beyond. And in those states, we've got to go to battle a little bit with some of these other brands, but we don't view it as the negative thing. When we move into a market, if there's someone that's already there that's doing a good job, that means the customer base is already educated that there's a healthy alternative. And so we just kind of bootstrap onto what they've already started. And the extent they've started, if they haven't started it, then we start that education process on how you can still get really good food at a good price point that's good for your body, and you can avoid those high calorie, high oil based type franchise foods, and to us and get a better alternative.
Wow, great. So you said that you started during the COVID time, right? And you sold to 23 locations, right?
Well, we existed before COVID, but we other brands. I was involved in several other brands. Subway being one of them, and I'm sure you have some Subway sandwiches. Potentially in Germany, and in the United States, that was our biggest brand. We had 300 stores at one point, and so we were highly and keenly focused on these other brands until 2019. And then in 2019, just months before COVID, we sold out of all of these other brands to focus entirely on Roxbury. And so that's been our focus for the past 3 or 4 years. And we got, obviously during COVID and a little bit after COVID, we slowed the growth to kind of figure out, okay, where's this trend going to go and how bad is this pandemic going to be? But for the most part, the pandemic was actually really good for Roxbury because of what I mentioned. People sought out more healthy food.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that people they want to enjoy more and more like healthy food, right?
Correct.
And how do you see the market trending in 6, 12, 36 months?
I think we're going to continue to ride. People they're taking time to educate themselves. They're taking more time to shop better and smarter. They're looking at the ingredient labels a lot more than they ever have. They're looking, and their dollars are important to them. In an economy where it's been squeezed a little bit, they're saying, okay, if I'm going to spend this $5 on this product, I want to make sure that it's got the right ingredients and the right nutrients that's going to help to feed my body the right way. So as the consumer gets smarter in their buying habits and where the dollars are spent, I think that bodes well for companies that are leaning into health and leaning into those good products.
How customers treat your products? Do they treat it like as a main course or as a dessert?
Both. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
The beauty of is it appeals to all age groups. We have everything from the toddlers to 70, 80-year-old men and women because of the taste factor. But we call them meal replacements because a smoothie really, it comes with a healthy portion of fruits and vegetables. So many people treat it as a meal replacement. But to your point, many people treat it as well. So we're open from 7 in the morning till 10 or 11 o'clock at night because we're all those meal points, all those treat times, we appeal to that.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole line of like açai bowls. I don't know if you're familiar with the açai fruit. It's from Brazil. And I'm telling you, açai is amazing. So we take that açai fruit and we blend it into a beautiful, you can't drink it with a, it's very thick. And then we top it with fresh, fruit. And if they want vegetables, we can put vegetables on there. But we put a little bit of drizzle of honey and a little bit of coconut. It's so delightful.
Oh
so
God.
It's not just smoothies anymore that people are going after, scoopable, spoonable products as well.
Yeah. So the most products from Brazil I know is P2.
Okay.
Now alcoholic drink.
I've not heard of that, but in the United States, I think in the rye run, açai is the big açai, the big Brazilian fruit.
Yeah. I noticed on the website, but I didn't figure out how to read this correctly. So it's açai. Okay, now I know.
Açai, correct.
açai, yeah.
It's mispronounced by in many different ways, but the correct pronunciation, is, at least as far as I'm concerned, is açai.
Yeah, I was in Turkish, something like açai or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
some people pronounce the C as a C, but I think the correct pronunciation is kind of an S pronunciation, açai.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
okay.
may stand corrected, but I think I'm right.
My neighbor on the fifth floor, she's from Brazil. I need to ask her.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
We
So
use very authentic acai. For years and years, we've been selling acai for a number of years. And when we first started, there was only one or two suppliers that you could even get any acai, and it was good, not near as good as the current supply chain that we get. We bring it directly from Brazil, specifically for Roxbury, and it is
wow.
authentic can be. We have Brazilians from all over the state so excited about it because they're flocking to us, because we're the only ones that, there's some competitors out there, but we're the only ones that are serving this really authentic acai.
Wow, that definitely makes you stand out.
Yeah,
That's
that's
for
our
sure.
hope. Exactly.
Yeah, great. So, what are your growth plans for the nearest future? I would say, like in 1 year, for example.
Well, we have a goal in the next 12 months to sell 20 new franchise opportunities. We're a franchise organization. We have some of our own stores, but primarily we franchise. And so that means we teach and empower and train and help and constantly support a group of franchise owners that they buy into our system, and they become our ambassadors, and they
Mhm.
build their own stores, great stores. And so our goal is to accelerate our growth through bringing on strategic franchise partners and helping them be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. So that we can
Mhm.
be there and help hold their hand and teach them and train them to be
Yeah,
prosperous.
yeah. I guess training them and maintaining your culture, your values,
Correct.
challenging. Yeah.
In a franchise organization, it is a little bit more challenging to maintain that culture and those strict, guidelines, but it's not overwhelming at all. I mean, we find that franchisees, they want a business for themselves, to be sure, but they don't want to take more risk than they have to. And when you
Mhm.
have a proven system, I mean, we've been in business for 17 years, and not many businesses can boast that way. Most restaurants fail within the first 12 months. So 17 years of history, and a successful history of that, is quite the story to tell. And so we franchisees achieve their goals of owning their own business without the risk of starting their own business. They can just
Mhm. Mhm.
bootstrap what we've done. Got some arrows in our back from the history of what not to do. So we've
Mhm.
learned some things along the way that we can pass along to them to shorten their learning curve and avoid the risks that that
Right, right. So yeah, they don't have to walk the same mile that you did, right?
correct. It's a much
Mhm.
shorter, much quicker, much more efficient and cheaper mile.
Right. Okay, but however, what has been the most challenging for you, like during your growth, during your scaling, yeah, period, if I may say so?
To be honest, the most challenging part was just a couple years ago.
Mm,
You may or may not remember, but COVID hit us hard, right? The world was shut down,
yeah,
and
true.
as a result of that world shutdown, all the supply chain of products was significantly impacted. And so in the years following COVID, there were supply chains that had been well established in the past that were disrupted. And so we get fresh fruit and vegetables from all over the world. Depending on which regions are in season during certain times of the year, we might get, acai from Brazil at certain times of the year, and we might get, oranges from Mexico and beyond. And so all over the world, we're collecting the best, the brightest, and the most efficient products that we can at any given point. And post COVID, that chain was in a mess. Normally you got ships arriving timely, unloading timely, trucks ready to ship it, containers ready to pick it up. Well,
right.
there was a big in the years following COVID where it was an all-out war just to try and find a really good strawberry to put into our products. And so that was probably the hardest time. And that's kind of reared its head, and it's kind of, gone back, to its origin. So I think we're okay now. But that supply chain crisis, we became supply chain in getting and facilitating product.
Yeah, I wonder, I can only imagine this recent tariff game affected supply chain again.
It's a good point you bring up. It has to a degree. We've been fortunate that we've had supply chain contracts in place for a long time, and so we've only been minorly by some charges as a result of tariffs. It could get worse in the years to come, depending on what the Trump administration decides to do. But I think we've been largely immune from it, and hopefully, and from a supply chain, from getting the US has not been a problem at all. But sometimes the prices have fluctuated a little bit in the rare goods.
Right. Oh, thanks God that you have like a well-established supply chain contracts.
Correct.
Yeah. Since you mentioned COVID times, many of the restaurant chains that we've been talking to, they said that during this COVID, they had to move their deliveries to third parties. They had their mobile apps for deliveries. How do you how does this? How many online do you have in percentage, and what part of them are going through the third party deliveries?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. During COVID, when everyone was at home, they all pivoted. Said, okay, I don't want to go out, and sometimes they could go out.
Yeah.
And so they got stuck at home, and they started getting their groceries, and they started getting their meals, even. And so I think COVID accelerated online shopping, exponentially. What normally would have taken maybe 10 or 15 or even 20 years to get to the volume of online shopping that we're at today happened because of COVID. So people just, even I'm 50s. And so I started ordering a lot online, whereas traditionally I didn't. And so these third-party vendors in the United States, the big ones are Uber Eats and DoorDash, and there's a number of others. And I'm sure there's a different set of them over in Germany, but as a percentage, they've grown and grown and grown each month we're in business. And that's good in some ways because it helps us broaden out, our customer base from those that are walking in or driving through to those that we're delivering to. But it also creates a problem with packaging to make sure that our packaging, meets a travel standard, so it's not tipping over while being delivered. But it also causes a factor. And when we first started, for instance, doing Uber Eats, they told us you can't charge any more to our customers than you charge to your own customers that will come into your store. And that was hard for us to swallow because they're charging, 20, 25, 30% to not only pick up our product, but then deliver it to their customers. It becomes prohibitive. You're going to go out of business if you're losing 20 to 30% per order. In the restaurant business, we work on a small, and sometimes that margin is smaller depending on what's being ordered. So we had to quickly pivot, and we decided we're either not going to third-party vendors to deliver, or they're going to have a higher price. So it's hard for our customers to pivot to that. But so let's just say, for sake of argument, something costs $10 if they walk into our restaurant.
Right.
And we can afford, that's our own margin, that's our own profitability. We can afford to sell it to them for $10. But if they order it through a third-party delivery company, we've got to add whatever percentage that they charge us. So if we're able to negotiate 20% that they're going to charge, then we've got to increase the product cost by 20% to that online customer. And that's hard because, the online customer has to get used to and has to be comfortable with paying 20% more than it would have normally cost them if they just walked into our store. However, we're not seeing a complaint. We're not seeing a level of distrust with that. In fact, we're seeing customers willing to pay that 20% multiple times every week. So the customer is just with their dollar, and they're just saying, for my convenience, for their convenience, I'm willing to pay 20% more to have it delivered to me. And so we've leaned into it. We're over that. We'd prefer not that they don't have to pay that much, but we can't do it cost effectively and stay in business unless we pass that charge on to them.
So did I get it right that you negotiated with the third parties and you get an approval from their side that you can charge 20-30% more, and the price for delivery is higher than when I walk into the restaurant, right?
Correct.
Wow.
It's unfortunate. We would prefer not that. I mean, our goal is to provide the best food at the lowest cost possible. But when a customer wants to, get something delivered to their home,
so it's like you're paying for delivery. That's it.
They're paying for the delivery. Yeah, it costs them a little bit more, but what we're seeing is they're willing to do that.
But do you still have your own delivery service? Like if I call to your restaurant and make an order, do you have your own delivery? No.
We have a few stores that have shown willingness to do that. And it's nothing that we require of them. We don't say you have to have your own delivery service, but we help them if they want to have their own delivery service. For instance, pizza in the United States, they have traditionally had their own delivery service. They have their own fleet of cars. They have their own delivery, employees. And so they've been able to pivot pretty good and avoid a lot of those third-party orders. But traditionally, most other businesses in the United States did not have a built-in delivery system. And we still, as a company as a whole, have a universal in-house delivery system. But some of the stores that are closer to downtown where you're not having to travel far distances, they've elected to do some of their own. But for the most part, we've just adopted these third-party vendors that, have their own delivery systems intact, as long as our customer understands and appreciates that we have to charge a little bit more because we have to now pay this delivery charge.
Okay, I see. So thanks for sharing this information. Made me thinking. Some more questions regarding the delivery.
Yeah.
So the chains that we talked to, so they sell that they're not sure where their customers. How do you track where drop-offs are happening in the journey? I mean, while clients making orders.
Well, we haven't seen a drop-off our in-house customers. In fact, we've seen an increase. Year over year. We're in the fortunate category that we're better year over year, and so we're seeing our customer counts increase, and we're also seeing our online orders increase. So those that are ordering through those third-party vendors, that increases every month. I mean, it's right now as a percentage of the whole, maybe 5%. Maybe a little bit more every now and then are buying online through a third-party vendor. But I venture to say in the next 12 months, that's probably going to be closer to 10% because we just have a growing number of people that are voting convenience over cost. And they're saying, okay, either I have my busy or I have a little bit of extra money where I'm going to be willing to pay a bit more money to have it delivered to my front door than having to go out, hop in my car and go pick it up myself. So we're seeing, a bit of both. But fortunately for Roxbury, we haven't had to figure out, who to prioritize. We've prioritized them all. And fortunately, it's just been a growing percentage in both categories for us.
I see. But do you still have your mobile app loyalty program with
Yes,
it?
we do.
All right. And do your clients have the ability or option to order by this mobile app?
Correct. They
Okay.
can order, they can pay on that
Mhm.
mobile app. We don't have, it's not integrated with a delivery at this point. So they can order on their app and pay on their app, right? And we have something called drive-through. Most of our stores have drive-throughs where the customer can simply just drive through and never get out of their car. But even in the stores that don't have a drive-through, we have what we call the virtual drive-through. So you can order online on our app, you can pay online with our app, and then when you pull up to the store, you can just there's a little button that pops up and it says, "I'm here." You push the I'm here button, and it says I'm in the yellow Ford front, And so then our team members, our employees, and
Come out and
they
bring
can
out.
just hand deliver it, walk it out to the car and hand deliver it. Yeah.
Wow, great. That's a great idea.
It's worked for us.
But okay, with your mobile app, can you track the people who start making an order and then suddenly they change their mind and drop off?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, we can definitely see that. And
Okay.
it's very rare. Our mobile app is pretty robust and it's really easy to use. And normally people, when they start the process, they're going to finish it, so we don't see a lot of drop-offs.
Wow, that's wonderful. And then regarding loyalty program, so the loyalty programs, they end up becoming like discount engines. Do you feel like your loyalty program is driving actual repeat behavior?
Yes, we have hundreds of thousands of people in our loyalty database, and we track that through their phone number. So when they order, if they order they order online through our app, they can just punch in their phone number, and on the app they don't have to punch in the phone number because it's already inherent in the system. But through their phone number, they track their purchases and give 5% back. So every time you make a purchase, you're getting 5% of that purchase in points. And as those points add up, you will be able to redeem them for actual products. So it's basically a perpetual 5% discount. They use points, and we know our loyalty users, and we know their habits. We know their frequency of purchase. We know down to the product that they purchase to that they normally purchase. It's really cool, and so we can actually to that. So, for instance, if you are normally you're an acai bowl purchaser at 4 p.m. on Thursdays, we can saying, okay, Thursday at 2 o'clock, we can reach out to you and say, hey, it's time for your 3 o'clock acai bowl. Should we start preparing it for you?
Really?
Yeah. So we can start jumping ahead of the game and start prompting our guests to their orders.
That's a wonderful experience, 100%. How many points do I need to collect to redeem them for a acai bowl?
Well, it's 5% of however much you purchase. So if you come in, you come in, it's just adding 5% to your, of whatever you purchased. So as soon as that 5%,
20 times.
Yeah, it's usually 10 times.
10 times.
Typically, it's to 15 times, depending on the level of that you're purchasing, that you're going to get a free product.
Okay, I see. Again. Okay, some last questions regarding the retention. So many clients, they tell that retention is, but they don't know why customers stop coming. How do you those retention rates?
Yeah, so that's a really sometimes that's a hard statistic to know along those lines. We have there's a company here in the United States. They're called Patch, Patch.
Okay, yeah.
And they're a company that has integrated with our sales system, and they track our loyalty buyers. And they, like I said, we know that the frequency and the, all the details of the particular orders on all those loyalty members. And so we have built in an automation system. If one of our loyalty users hasn't been in for a while, we will automate an email or a text to be sent to them that says, "Hey, John, we haven't seen you for a little while. Here's come by and see us." We won't earn an incentive in that first text. It's just a reminder that we're here. And then if they still don't come in for a while, we'll send another text that maybe gives them a little bit of an incentive. "Hey, here's the 5% off." And then if they still don't come in for a while, maybe it's 10% off. And then if they still don't come in for a while, maybe it's a buy one, get one free or something like that. It gets a little bit more aggressive as it goes. But we find that take much prompting. Life is full of changes in your routine. And here in the United States, here in Utah in particular, kids go to school from like late August to May. And for example, in late August, it's a great time for Roxbury to market to our customers and give them incentives. So because the families have to pivot, they have to change. I go from my summer schedule and how I take care of my kids and their schedules and their whatever curricular activities they're in. And when change to a school schedule, all of a sudden those parents have to change their schedule drastically. They got to get their kids to school. They got to get them up on time. You got to pick them up from school and get them to their basketball game or their soccer practice or whatever it is. And so once we establish a routine with a customer, we want to isolate that routine. And then every a change of behavior, like a change of routine where they're going from summertime to school time, or school time to Christmas time, or Christmas time to springtime, or springtime to summer. Those changes create a routine. And our goal is to market to that new routine so we can win that customer back. We feel like we have to win them back 2 or 3 times a year, not because our product has gone stale, not because they don't like Roxbury. It's just simply because their routine has changes, and we have to remind them that we're a great option to get back onto a new routine with. So sometimes during the year, maybe they come at 2:00 in the afternoon every day, but then the routine changes and it's better for them to come at 8:00 in the morning. So we just have to, kind of find that comfort zone and market to it.
Like, great approach, actually. And so you mentioned basketball. How did Utah Jazz end season?
Well, last year was terrible for us, I got to admit. The team was trying to lose games because in the NBA they have this draft, and they call it a lottery, and the worst teams get the potential to draft the highest the highest and most qualified players out of college. And so Utah Jazz, man, they were trying to lose because they weren't very good. So they were trying to lose so they would get the highest percent of getting this draft lottery, and it didn't work very well for them. So we're hoping this year will be better than last year, because it was bad last year.
Oh, yeah, I hope too, because I know Jazz used to be a very strong team, and
we hope those days are coming back, because we sure miss those fun times for sure.
Sure. Great. Oh, well, thanks, Brett, for this interview, for this podcast. Yeah.